Vogue Magazine, New York, New York, writing an article on Dripping Springs, Texas, calling Dripping Springs, Texas the buzziest little town in America. That is one hell of an article title. Guys, I'm Chris Pesek. I'm a real estate broker associate at Pesek Properties, and I live in Dripping Springs, Texas. So when I saw this article, I had to do a video on it and break down, did somebody actually leave their desk in New York and try to find things that are truly local, things that are truly unique? Or did they just do a Google search and try to come up with stuff on their own? Well, I can tell you, at least part of the article is good. It talks about this place that I'm at, Milton Reimer's Ranch. This is on the Pedernales River. This is a state park out here, and it is beautiful if you like to be on the water and there's water in the river at the time. This is a great place to do it. It's also got rock climbing, mountain biking, hiking, fishing, all kinds of stuff. So this is truly a gem for Dripping Springs, Texas. But what about the rest of this article? I'm about to break it down for you. Let's go find out. All right, a guide to Dripping Springs, the buzziest rural town in America. All right, Vogue, New York, New York. Let's see what you did here. Are you going to be an influencer-based article from somebody who's never set foot in Dripping Springs, or did you do a little bit of research? Guys, I am going to, by the way, this is Hamilton Pool. They don't even mention it, but they do use it in one of the pictures. Awesome. I'm going to switch over to a Word document so you don't have to see all the advertising and stuff like that. But just wanted to show you that this is an actual Vogue article. And as somebody who lives in Dripping Springs, like I mentioned, I just want to know, did you do it justice? So it gives a little bit of a history of Dripping Springs to start out. Okay, it's cool. Talked about how old Dripping Springs is, some of the buildings that are still there built, pre 1900, 1870s and stuff like that. We've had a lot of growth out here recently. Not so much in the last year and a half, but COVID really blew our population up. And I think it's going to continue to grow now. Talking about fiery sunsets. Yeah, we got them. I got them. It's amazing out here. But the thing that's really interesting is they are saying, oh, this is the Hudson Valley of Austin. I don't know. Is Dripping Springs beautiful? Yep. But you're blowing it up there. So let's get an idea of what Dripping Springs is to this Vogue writer. They're going to start out with where to eat and drink, then they're going to talk about where to stay and things to do. So I'm going to give you my ideas as we go down here. I'm going to add some of my own personal favorites as well. And we'll see where we all end up on this. So the first thing that they lead off with is Alchemy Organic Cafe. This is an Austin-based company, they said. I didn't even know this place existed. I'm sorry. I had to look it up to see what it was. And you know what? There's a reason that I didn't know it existed. And I'm going to show you what that reason is. I think it's here. So they have coffee. That's cool. But guys, this is not my bag. I'm going to say spinach kale smoothies. Coconut, I can do that. That sounds pretty good. But when you're talking about protein add-ins for me, superfood protein and grass-fed collagen, I mean, I'm going to go get a burger. I'm going to go get a steak. No offense, Alchemy. And I promise you guys this, I will go to Alchemy and get something just because they are local and I need to know about them. But it's not going to be the mushroom coffee latte, even though I guess I've heard that mushroom is supposed to be good for you in your coffee. I don't know. But there you go. Their number one is Alchemy Cafe. And this thing is leading off with what's making me feel like this is going to be an influencer type of article from somebody who's never been here. But okay, now they're coming back a little stronger. Abby Jane Bake Shop, guys. Abby Jane is phenomenal. They used to be a trailer in Austin. The lady who owns it, her name is Abby Jane, for real. And what sets them apart, and I'll say this, Vogue, good job. Barton Springs Mill is in the same building as Abby Jane, and it is a grain mill. They make flours and stuff like that. James Brown is the owner. I've met James several times. Really good dude. And he goes around to different parts of the state and he meets with smaller farmers to find heritage grains. He's not finding new GMO varieties and stuff like that. And this isn't, if you're worried about Monsanto and stuff that goes into your food, that's what James avoids. So he's finding older grains, his corn, the corns and the wheats and the rices and stuff that he's turning into flour. These are old school varietals of this, and Abby Jane is using it as fresh as you can have. I mean, it comes into his sorry about that. It comes into his mill. He mills it, and she's using it fresh. So breads, pastries, stuff like that. The pastries in the morning, the Queen Amman is phenomenal, and great cakes and stuff like that. So yep, Abby Jane is definitely 2 thumbs up. They are off of Fitzhugh Road, close to Ranch Road 12, north of Dripping Springs. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do though is I'm going to give you some other older options. Abby Jane's been out here for what feels like about 5 years. I might be a little bit wrong on that. But some of the older school options that are every bit as good as Abby Jane, in my opinion, you've got Rolling in Time and Dough, and their second location is Time to Go, and it's THYME and DOUGH, so Time and Dough. It's obviously a bakery, right? Their original location is downtown Dripping Springs, right off of 290. The secondary location is on Fitzhugh and 12, which is right close to Abby Jane. Little bit different vibe, right? Rolling in Time and Dough is a little bit old school. Abby Jane's a little bit new school. They both have phenomenal options, and their food is great. But there you go, a little bit of differentiation there. And there's another one if you're more into looking for like cupcakes and sweets and things like that, or if you need a cake made, Cakes Rock, which is Christy Seguin. It's off of 290, closer into Austin. She makes these realistic looking cakes. She's made cakes for major rock stars and movie stars and stuff like that. And she's out here in Dripping Springs, and her cheesecakes are incredible. So there you go, a couple of different options here. But Vogue, all right, you're redeeming yourself here a little bit with Abby Jane. Their next option that they talk about is Tilly's. Okay, again, really good option, and they're saying that it is the most sophisticated dining option in town. Okay, yeah, I can see that. If you want a romantic dinner, Tilly's is a freaking great option, but they also have really good lunch options as well. And is it a little bit more upscale and romantic than other places around town? Yes. Their food is great. The restaurant itself was brought over from Vietnam. I think it was an old chapel or something. And they disassembled it in Vietnam, shipped it over, and put it up here. Whit Hanks is the owner of Tilly's, and it's located at Camp Lucy. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Camp Lucy in a little bit. So, but the ambiance is beautiful. The location out on, it's almost 300 acres. Oh my God, it's gorgeous out there. So yeah, Tilly's, really good option. Now, another upscale dining option for you would be Trattoria Lucina, which is in Driftwood, about the same distance from downtown as Tilly's. Tilly's is about 15 minutes southwest. Trattoria Lucina is it's probably 20 minutes southeast down in Driftwood. But again, another high-end, sophisticated, however you want to say that, dining option. Those are really good ones. And then if you go 15 minutes down into Wimberley, there's a couple of other ones. Jobel is one that's really, really good down there as well. So, yep, Tilly's is good. There are some other options as well, but Tilly's has been around for a long time. And like I said, we're going to talk about Camp Lucy here in a little bit. Then they jump into wineries and breweries. Guys, I can't believe Vogue missed this, but Dripping Springs is known as Drinking Springs because we have a ton of wineries and distilleries and breweries out here. You could spend a week, maybe more, and still not hit them all. So if you just want to spend a weekend in the hill country and hit wineries, come to Dripping Springs. Yes, you can go to Fredericksburg. There's a ton of wineries out there as well, or you can spend time between the two. But this is a great option. Now, Solero, I've been there once. It wasn't my favorite. I'm going to be honest, but they have different tastings, and we were kind of in a rush, and so I had my tasting, and it wasn't my favorite wine. Everybody tells me I need to go back because the people that really, really like wine rave about Solero. So I will go back. I promise you that. Just haven't been there lately. I will say the tasting room, it's awesome. Beautiful. It's quiet out there. It's got a vineyard that goes down. It's really pretty setting. And they're talking about, you can see how cows and horses. I don't know. I guess that's exciting for people from New York. I don't know. You can drive down the road and see cattle and horses out here. So that's not the reason to go to a winery, but I guess there's something there for them. In terms of other wineries that are some of my favorites, if you do not like Texas grapes, and some people don't, even though they have come a long way. We've got two wineries that are on Bell Springs Road. Parmesan is one and Graveyard is the other. Their grapes come out of California, and I think it's Graveyard that is in Paso Robles, and I'm not sure where Parmesan is, but those are California grapes that have tasting rooms here, and they're really, really good. Some of the other local ones that use Texas grapes that I really like, C.L. Butaud is also off, or Butaud is also off of Fitzhugh right here. It's called the Fitzhugh District, guys, from 290 out to 12. And there's just a lot of wineries and restaurants and breweries and distilleries and stuff out here. That's why it's called that. And I'm going to mention Fitzhugh over and over and over. So C.L. Butaud, really, really good. Unassuming place, really small tasting room, kind of dark, but it's a cool vibe, and the wine's really good. You also have Bell Springs Winery. I mentioned Bell Springs Road a while ago, where you can get Parmesan and Graveyard. So right close to those is Bell Springs Winery, another beautiful location. And they also have beer out there. So if you have wine and beer people, that may be a good location for you. They also have a tasting room in town called Sidecar, and you can get their wines there as well. So that's a good local option. Hawk Shadow is one of my favorites, but it may just be because of the view. I mean, they've got a hill country view that goes on forever, and just grabbing some wine, sitting out on their covered deck, man, just phenomenal. And they've got really the only true wine cellar that I know of here. They cut down into the limestone rock, and it's cool down there. It's a really, really neat setting out there. That's Hawk Shadow. And again, I couldn't go on and explain all of the wineries that are out here, guys. I'm not that big of a wine person. Those are the ones that I know very well. You know, you've got Flat Creek and Wimberley Valley and Driftwood Vineyards, and you know, there's a bunch of them out here. So if you like wine, it may be worth coming out to just spend some time out here. And then that takes us to the brewing beers. I am a beer guy. I'm a beer and whiskey guy. So if you need recommendations on beer based on the type that you like or stuff like that, reach out, ask me. I'll geek out on beer with you. Twisted X has got good beer. Every time I go there, it is solid beer. It is not one of my favorite breweries, but I think that's just because of location. I'm kind of on the other side of Dripping Springs, and I don't go down there as much. But like I said, every time I go there, I enjoy it. McConaughey's is their hazy IPA. I have gotten away from hazy IPAs at this point, but McConaughey's is still kind of that old school hazy IPA. It doesn't taste too much like oranges for me. Really, really good beer. And they mentioned some other breweries here. Jester King, that's the OG in Dripping Springs. Jester King, I used to love their beers. Now they've gone more to sours and farmhouse style beers, which aren't really my wheelhouse. But their location and the setting is awesome. You can take kids out there and let them run around. I think they've got like 150 acres out there, and it's right here by my house. I live a mile away from it. So Jester King's a cool location. Ghost Note, I've had a couple of good beers there. The food at Ghost Note, I don't know if it's the same food truck that's been there, but the food at Ghost Note has been really good as well. Vista Brewing, another beautiful location. This may be my favorite tasting room of any type in the hill country. Oh my gosh, the tasting room is absolutely gorgeous. I love the way it's designed. 12 Fox, probably it is one of my go-tos, one of my top 3 breweries out here. It's on West Fitzhugh, a little further out, but it's an all outdoor. They've got covered, beer garden and stuff like that. They focus mainly on German and Berliner Weisses and stuff like that. Really cool location. That's veteran owned. And they always have, if you're a vet and you're out here drinking, go out there, because people like myself, they've got a program at 12 Fox where you can buy a vet a beer. So, when we go out there, we'll buy a couple of beers for vets. And then when vets go out there, your first beer is on the house as a thank you. So 12 Fox is really cool. You also have Acapon in town. Acapon, I can close my eyes and point to a beer on the board and just pick it out of luck, and I'm going to like Acapon's beer. They have their system dialed in. They focus mainly on English style beer. So if you're an English beer person, got to go to Acapon. They also have the only cask beer out here, and they keep that cask at a good temperature. It's not too cold. So I love getting a fresh pull off of one of their casks. And depending on homunculus is one of my favorites. So if you go there, try to homunculus on cask. They usually have it on. And then also Suds Monkey is another one that I love. And they've got really good pizzas and paninis and salads and stuff like that too. Suds Monkey, great beer also. So I'm going to stop there because I could, again, talk about beers forever. But again, drinking springs, beers, wineries, and I haven't even mentioned distilleries, guys. Deep Eddy Vodka, they don't distill out here anymore, but they've got a tasting room out here. It's a good location. Dripping Springs Distilling, really, really nice tasting room. That's also on Bell Springs. So if you hadn't figured out, if you just hit Fitzhugh Road and Bell Springs Road, you can spend an entire weekend just on those two roads with all the distilleries and stuff. And Dripping Springs Distilling also has really good food out there. The Twisted X, which is right next to Abbey Jane. Twisted X has got beer and vodka and bourbons. And then also right next to those is another brewery and distillery called One Shot Brewing, another vet-owned business out here. And he does more vodka. He's got a couple of other distillates that he does, but he does more vodka and he focuses a little bit more on the darker beers. So yeah, Phil at One Shot is another good location. So again, that's why they call it Drinking Springs. And I've got just a little bit of knowledge about the drinking establishments out here. My wife and I love going out and just hanging out, especially when it's days like today. Great way to spend some time in the hill country. Now, before I go on to where to stay, if you're still with me at this point, guys, if this is content that you find valuable, maybe subscribe to my YouTube channel, because this is the kind of stuff I do. I am a realtor, and I do a lot of real estate stuff on here, but I focus on what makes the Austin area cool, what makes these little suburbs cool, like Dripping Springs, Bastrop, stuff like that. So that is the content on my channel. If that's content is valuable to you, if you enjoy that kind of stuff, give me a follow. All right, now where to stay. Oh, by the way, the first two, okay, where to eat. I'll give Vogue a solid B+ on that, based on my personal preferences. Things to drink, I'll give them. Let's give them an A on that, because they hit the highlights here locally. That's cool. Where to stay? Let's see what we're gonna do, guys. First off, Albert Hotel. This is not in Dripping Springs. Vogue, you failed on that one. Albert Hotel is in Fredericksburg, guys, and it's beautiful, and Fredericksburg's beautiful. And if you want to spend time in Fredericksburg, I fully support staying at the Albert. But that's 45 minutes at least from Dripping Springs. You're not going to stay in the Albert and come to Dripping Springs and do Dripping Springs and then go back to the Albert at night. It's not happening. So just gonna say that from that perspective. But again, if you want to go to Fredericksburg and check out all the boutiques and the shopping and the wineries and all that other stuff, Albert Hotel, go for it. Camp Lucy. Camp Lucy is a great one. This is where Tilly's is. They've got a bunch of cabins out there. Most of them, I think, are one bed, one baths. They are absolutely beautiful. The setting is beautiful. Again, about 300 acres out there. You can have weddings out there. You can have corporate retreats there. They've got big meeting spaces. Camp Lucy is absolutely a gem. And here again, it talks about their family's been here for a long time. So Camp Lucy, great job, Vogue. That is a really, really good option. Cedar Break at Howard Ranch. It's convenient. It's got a bunch of little cabins there. You don't have it's not quaint. It's right next to a subdivision. It's right next to Twisted X Brewing. So you've got a brewery right there. It's walkable to the brewery and stuff. And there's some hiking trails there. But the cabins are right next to each other. I don't know, it's a good option, but I don't know that I would put it in Vogue magazine. So no offense to the folks at Cedar Break, but me personally, you've got you've got Lucky Arrow. Lucky Arrow is what Cedar Break would like to be. Again, it's on Bell Springs Road, and it's got little cabins, and they've got different sizes, and they've got a swimming pool up on the hill, and they're more private and stuff like that. Lucky Arrow is a really good option. And guys, because we are the wedding capital of the U.S., I think that's what our designation is. There's a lot of Airbnb and VRBO options out here. But what I would say is instead of going to Airbnb and VRBO, there's a local business out here called I Love Dripping Springs Vacations. Jody Clear is the manager, and that is a property management company for short-term rentals here. I think they've got 70 or 80 doors, and there's a couple of other management companies here too. But personally, I really like I Love Dripping Springs Vacations. They do a lot of higher end stuff. Now, their properties go from one bed, one baths on acreage up to really large 6 and 7 bedroom homes with big swimming pools and stuff like that. But they really try to bring everything up to a luxury level. So if you're looking for a place to stay out here, go to I Love Dripping Springs Vacations. They've got a website, they've got Instagram, they've got Facebook. I think that's kind of a one-stop shop for you if you're looking for a place to stay. Now, the way back. Again, Vogue, you failed. The way back's cool. It's 8 cabins. They've got a little cafe there. It's awesome. It's in Westlake. That's Austin, for those of you that don't know. They say it's between Austin and Dripping Springs, and it's a 20-minute drive. I would say the drive is probably closer to 30 minutes. I think it's closer to downtown Austin than it is to Dripping Springs. Again, nothing against the way back. It looks cute as heck. I've never been there. But that's not Dripping Springs. That's Austin. Go stay there if you wanna hang out in Austin or Bee Cave. I mean, it's close to Bee Cave, but not Dripping Springs. So for places to stay, Vogue, I'm gonna have to give you like a D on that because hell, 2 of the restaurants or 2 of the hotels that you talked about or places to stay aren't even in Dripping Springs. So you get a D on that. Again, the way back and the Albert, those are influencer type things. I think they found those on TikTok or Instagram or something like that. Okay, that's fine. I'm 49 years old. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on TikTok. Well, I guess I am technically on Instagram, but it's my real estate stuff. So the influencer thing does not move the needle for me. I don't know. Maybe it does for you. So there you go for what that's worth. Okay, and then things to do. This article or this paragraph, the Hill Country is quickly becoming a hub for regenerative agriculture with entrepreneurial first generation farmers reimagining stewardship with overnight stays. Okay, that's a fancy way of saying, hey, there's some young ranchers out here that, probably made their money in tech or something, and they wanted to move to a ranch, and they, want to open up Airbnbs on their ranch. Okay, that's kind of what the Rome Ranch feels like now. It goes a little bit further. Rome Ranch, you can take tours of the ranch, and they've got buffalo or bison, and they have exotic animals, and they've got white-tailed deer and stuff like that. And you can actually go out there and hunt. They sell hunts. You can go on axis hunt and wild whitetail hunts and stuff like that. You may even be able to go on a bison hunt. I don't know, but they do hunts, workshops, starlit dinners. Okay, that's cool, but I wouldn't necessarily call that anything special for the Hill Country. If you want to go on hunts, guys, there's hunting ranches all over the place out here. That's not necessarily unique. 600 acres with some cabins and stuff. Okay, that's cool. But in terms of regenerative agriculture, guys, that's been going on out here forever. If that's something that you are interested in, look up the Bamberger Ranch. It's in Blanco. This guy took over a ranch that was completely covered with cedar trees and all this other stuff and turned it into what the Hill Country looked like 200 years ago when it was grasslands and overrun with bison and stuff. Now, you don't stay out there. It's just you go on a tour of the ranch and they tell you kind of what it used to look like, what they did, and what it looks like now, and you get to walk through and all of that. And they don't have the exotic animals and all of that stuff. But if you're really interested into regenerative agriculture, that's the OG. Do that tour. I would highly suggest that. Again, nothing against the Rome Ranch. That's cool. What they're doing is really cool and it's beautiful. But if that's your thing, okay, check out Bamberger. And again, they're not Instagrammers. They're not influencers. That's why this article does not bring them to your attention, but that's what I'm here for. Now we're going to get into some other cool stuff. Okay, Pedernales Falls State Park. Pedernales River is a river that runs kind of from Fredericksburg, actually west of Fredericksburg, down through just north of Dripping Springs, and it ends up going into the Colorado River at Lake Travis, which goes through Austin. That's where all the lakes come from, the Highland Lakes. Pedernales Falls State Park, really, really cool state park. I don't know, 15, 20, 30 miles worth of hiking and biking trails out there. You can do, mountain biking and trail running and hiking and all this other stuff. Really cool feel of what the hill country used to be like. Now there are a bunch of cedar trees, and there's some discussion as to how many cedar trees there used to be out here. But anyway, it's uninhabited. It is big. You've got the river flowing through it. You can fish, you can swim, you can kayak out there when there's water. Right now the water's a little bit low, but in the spring when the water's really flowing after our spring rains, man, the waterfalls are amazing. They're not huge, tall. There's just these giant granite rocks that the river flows over. It's pretty incredible out there. So yeah, good job, Vogue. That is one that is it is a must see. And then you've got Milton Reimer's Ranch. Guys, Reimer's Ranch has been around forever, and it's just recently become a park. And I want to say it is a Travis County park. I think that's who the family sold it to. So Reimer's Ranch, and I think the house is still out there. At least it was the last time I was there last year. You literally would drive onto the ranch, drive past the farmhouse, and you would wait and roll down your window. And usually Milton's wife or one of the kids, or sometimes Milton was there, and they would come out of the house and you would give them your $5 for day use. It was literally their family ranch. It's on the Pedernales River also. And you pay them and you could go spend the day down at the river. And from what I hear back, I think it was in the 80s and maybe even the 70s, you could go camp down by the river. They've got this beach area. It's really cool. But they kind of knocked out camping. I think there were, some people had some pretty big raging parties out there, and they were like, no, we're not doing that anymore. But you can still day use. You can fish, you can swim, you can kayak, you can canoe and waterboard. I always say waterboard, paddleboard. But in addition to that, you've got more mountain biking. You've got a lot of hiking trails out there. And this is one of the places that local people, and local being like Austin area, this is one of the places that people go rock climbing. There are some pretty good cliffs and stuff there, and there's rock climbing clubs. So if you're a rock climber, Reimer's Ranch may be a pretty good option for you to go out and get some climbing in. One of my favorite places out here. It's absolutely beautiful. And it says in here, I ran over it somewhere, but Reimer's Ranch is on Hamilton Pool Road, which goes into Bee Cave. It's north of Dripping Springs. And if you continue out Hamilton Pool Road, you're going to also hit Hamilton Pool, which was that photo that I was showing you on the Vogue article. So, that is an option as well. Hamilton Pool is really cool. And then there's also other parks out here in Wimberley. You've got Jacob's Well, which right now it's kind of a hole in the ground because, again, our water tables are really low. But in the spring, when the rains come, Jacob's Well is going to be flowing again. And it's really cool spot to go fishing. I think, or not fishing, swimming. You do have to get reservations for Jacob's Well. You also have to get them for Hamilton Pool. And then also there's Blue Hole in Wimberley, which is another really cool natural swimming hole. So a lot of cool nature things out here as well. Now, they're going to get past the nature real quick and talk about other things. Farmer's Market. Yep, Farmer's Market's really cool. Still some of the best gumbo I've ever had in my life. There's a guy that has fresh gumbo and frozen gumbo. And, there's fresh breads, things you can take with you. It's just like a normal farmer's market. A little bit smaller, but really cool. It is in Founders Park, which is the original Pound farmhouse homestead. Dr. Pound was one of the original settlers out here. He was a doctor, and he took care of Native Americans and white people, the settlers alike. And so the Indians that were out here at the time were pretty violent. There were, you can read up on the history of the area, but this, the Texas frontier was kind of a battleground for a long time. But he was one of the white people, one of the settlers that the Indians did not mess with, because he ended up, I think the story goes that he ended up saving one of the chief's daughters or something like that, who was sick. And then he became the doctor, not only for the settlers, but also for the Native Americans. So really cool history there. So it's worth going to the museum there, checking that out and hearing that history. And then also some of the other local things. Mercer Street, they talk about Palm Social Collective, which personally I've never been there. I don't know about it, but evidently it's a clothing store. Juniper Tree Market. it's a little bit of a different type of boutique, a little unique. They've got some hiking things in there, and you can find out about local hiking. They've got plants in there and things like that. So a little bit of a different twist on it. But then that's where Vogue kind of stops. And again, I think it's an influencer article, because I assume Palm Social's probably TikTok and Instagram, and Juniper Tree Market I know is, but they didn't bring you some of the other stuff. Right next to Juniper Tree Market is Mazama. It's a coffee shop, really cool little coffee shop here. Indoor outdoor seating, and they've got some good pastries and things. So if you want kind of a we'll call it a little bit more of a metropolitan feel coffee shop, then head to Mazama. You've got a ton of boutiques along Mercer Street. I can't even. I would start to miss out on so many of them, but I know Stars on Mercer is there, and Vintage Soul and stuff like that. So there's a lot of boutiques. You can spend a lot of time on Mercer Street walking around if you like boutique style things. There's not really any antique stores down there, so that's not really an antique feel. But again, boutiques, there's a ton of them. And then you've got more places to go out. You've got the British Baking Company, which has got great food. Acapon, the brewery that I mentioned earlier, that's on Mercer Street. There's a bar. It's called the Barber Shop, and it's a little local watering hole. It's a really cool place to hang out. Then you also have kind of in that afternoon and evening time frame with those breweries. Just off of Mercer Street in this little area that's got a lot of boutiques is Grawlick's Lounge. And Grawlick's has got phenomenal cocktails. Grawlick's is something that you would find in a metro area. Grawlick's would fit in well downtown Austin. And if you're a fan of really good cocktails and innovative cocktails, and also charcuterie board and salmon toast and stuff like that, Grawlick's is a great option for a nightcap, or even kind of spending a little bit of time in the evening sitting outside. Definitely go to Grawlick's. Grawlix is how that's spelled. And then here we go, historic downtown. At least, yes, Dripping Springs has got the old school Christmas tree lighting and Christmas on Mercer, which was this past weekend. So that's where all the local artists and artisans and things like that come out. A little bit of a small town feel, but I'm glad that they talked about the Singer-Songwriter Festival in the fall. Singer-Songwriter Festival, I think this last year they had 9 different stages, and it's like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they get artists from all over the world. Artist submissions come in from all over the world, and they go through the submissions and find the artists that they want to invite here. And those artists have sets on these stages at the boutiques and at the restaurants and the wineries and the breweries and stuff downtown in that Mercer Street area. And it's really cool, and it's very, very well attended. And the whole thing's free. You just show up, and or you can print it off the website, like the list of the people and where they're going to be, and you just go into any of these places that you want. It's all completely free. It's a really cool thing that Dripping Springs does, and they're trying to get that singer-songwriter vibe and that music scene out here a little bit more. They're trying to take some of that stuff out of Austin that Austin's become known for. So really cool for Vogue to pick up on that. And then if you're interested in solar eclipse, we are, I think, one standard deviation off of the perfect solar eclipse for April of 2024. Guys, I'm telling you right now, there are very few rooms that are available out here still for that time. So if you want to take part in that, you're probably going to have to either stay in Austin, or, you can go to the Albert Hotel in Fredericksburg. But I would think that there's going to be very few rooms available here for that thing. So that's Dripping Springs. And then they're going to go in and say, hey, once you get your fill, you can drive to some of the nearby towns. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about those too. I mentioned Wimberley already. Wimberley used to be like this little hippie artist community in the 70s. And now people are finding out it's about 45 minutes from downtown Austin, 55 minutes, somewhere in that range. And it's 15 minutes south of Wimberley on Ranch Road 12. And again, if you are, if you like boutiques and stuff like that, man, on weekends, Wimberley is packed with people walking around. There's a ton of boutiques and restaurants and wineries and things like that. Some of the favorite restaurants that we go to, Community Pizza down there is really, really good. I mentioned Jobel earlier, great option down there as well. Dos Olivos is another good option. It's a little bit of a restaurant and a wine bar. Creekside is really good, and there's a lot of live music down there. Creekside has a lot, and Wimberley's live music scene is blowing up. And then you've got all the outdoor stuff to do around there as well. So Wimberley's a really good option. Blanco and Johnson City. Johnson City is not quite as far along as Blanco is at this point. Now they're starting to get more places to eat and things to do. And again, everything out here kind of feels like a boutique-y thing if you're not doing drinking or outdoors. So more of that stuff is going into Johnson City. Johnson City is on the way from Austin. You would go through Dripping Springs and then to Johnson City as you're going out to Fredericksburg. So again, if you're making a weekend trip out to Fredericksburg, out to the wine country out there, it might be worth stopping in Johnson City. Check out a few of the shops there and a few of the restaurants. Really good restaurants. Brian's on 290 is good. Wreckham Wright is a brewery that has really good beer down there. Then you've got stuff right there on the square in Johnson City. So good options there. Blanco, and I was just down in Blanco yesterday. Blanco is, man, it's kind of a hidden gem, a little bit like Wimberley, but people are starting to find out about Wimberley. Nobody knows about Blanco yet. It is the town or the county seat for Blanco County. And if you notice, I'm saying Blanco, but it looks like Blanco. Guys, Texas, we speak our own brand of Spanish down here. So it's pronounced Blanco. But that town square or that county courthouse square area, great restaurants, antiques. You can find actual legit antiques in Blanco still, which is kind of hard to do now. Redbud Cafe, I just had lunch at. Great food. They've got 2 or 3 microbreweries down there, and then they've got a larger brewery called Real Ale. Real Ale distributes pretty widely, and it's a big brewery at this point. They've been in Blanco. Man, it's got to be 20 or 25 years now. And then if you want, wine, there's obviously a bunch of wine around there. We've talked about that. But the distilleries is the thing that a lot of people don't know about. So Andalusia is one of the distilleries out there. Really good. They make a bunch of different spirits, a bunch of different types. So they're a little bit different, and they serve aperitifs and things like that. But the other one is, again, back at Real Ale. They've got real spirits, and they use the spent grains from their beer process to make whiskey. And I'm going to tell you, Real Spirits is the best Texas whiskey I have had to date, and it's not even close. The only place you can buy it is to go into their tasting room at the brewery there. So a little bit of an insider secret. Make sure to check out Real Ale if you are a whiskey fan, because their spirits are phenomenal. And then, of course, you can go south of Blanco, all the way down to Spring Branch, and that's where Rebecca Creek is. And then again, there's more distilleries out in High. You've got Hiram and Garrison Brothers and stuff like that is out, between Blanco and Fredericksburg. And then, of course, if you're looking for something to do, there is always Lukenbach, Texas, where somebody or everybody is somebody in Lukenbach, as the saying goes. Lukenbach's great for an afternoon to go to the old store there, take in some music. Willie and Waylon and the boys. That's what put Lukenbach on the map. So anyway, guys, wow. So much stuff going on out here. The article, Vogue, overall, how do I feel about it? Yes, it's exactly what I thought it was. This is an influencer article. I don't know if any of these people actually set foot in Dripping Springs, Texas, in writing this article. And by the way, Vogue, again, if you did set foot in Dripping Springs, Texas, I want to know. Tell me about it, because it doesn't really feel like you did. Overall, the article, I'll give it a solid B plus, or C plus, maybe a B minus. But you know what? It's a solid article. It's shedding some light on Dripping Springs, and Dripping Springs is a growing area. Just outside of Austin, it offers you a completely different feel than Austin, and only being about 35 minutes from downtown Austin, about 35-40 minutes from the airport. So you know what, if you're looking for a day trip, come out to Dripping Springs. If you're looking for some real estate, a really cool place to live, get some elbow room and not be right on top of your neighbors, man, I'll be your realtor, because nobody knows Dripping Springs like I do. All right, guys, check out the rest of my YouTube channel if you're looking for more content like this. We'll see you on the next video.